So here I've got a Retina Reflex S. I was just going through some parts cameras to see if there was anything I could salvage, and this one caught my attention, and it didn't have a lens on it when I picked it out of the drawer. But this, you can advance the film. The shutter apparently cocks, it closes, but it doesn't make the exposure. And I've seen something unusual here, which I'll tell you about. We'll put a lens on it, cock the shutter, and the aperture doesn't open up all the way. So, something funny is going on. This lever here, its job is to open the aperture up on the lens when you cock the shutter. And as you can see, it doesn't advance all the way down to the bottom of that slot. It only gets about halfway down. When you release the shutter, this tab runs up and it should reach much the position it is at the moment, slightly down from there. But because it's being stopped, because it's obviously mispositioned, it can only move a short distance, and that means that the mechanism behind it can't run down, so the shutter doesn't release. So what's happened here? Well, what's happened is that someone has removed these 3 screws from the front of the shutter and put it back on again after cleaning it perhaps, or perhaps they were just investigating because they were nosy, and they've put it back in the wrong place. And that this section in particular is not correctly timed. So I'm just going to open this up now and see what I find. Screwdriver doesn't want to fit that slot. I'll go and get a better one. Let's see if this one's any better. The slot in the screw is filled up with lacquer or dirt. The screwdriver just won't go in. One last screw. Get this one all the way up, that's out. 1, 2, 3. Now I should have done this before I'd removed the screws. I'm just going to set the shutter to be an f1.9. In theory, if everything was correct, we'll put it back where it was, the meter will be correct, but I don't think it will be correct. So we'll lift off these. Oh, interesting. As soon as I'd lifted off that ring and allowed the shutter to fire, it did fire and it completed. Let's see what happens. We'll put it on, that's about 1/4 of a second, I think, perhaps 1/2 a second. So the shutter does work. You can see it's pretty slow to work, but it does function. So this state is probably the original state the camera was in until somebody decided to fix it or investigate. And in their investigation, they just made it worse. So that's something to be aware of. simply by removing the front rings here and incorrectly reassembling it, that fault had been introduced. So after correctly repositioning that lever, which is on a ring, and it's the timing of the gear I was most interested in, you'll see that when we advance the film, I'm at number 1, am I? Yes, I am indeed. See that tab moves right down towards the bottom of the slot, and its rest position is up at the top of the slot. And in this case, the very slow speeds are gummy. That shutter certainly needs servicing. But even with the lens fitted, the shutter does function at the highest speeds. So it's a camera that needs servicing, certainly, but its main fault was one that had been introduced.